Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Mario, and you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate it. Joining me today is my co-host. Let me tell you a little bit about this co-host right here.
Oh, God.
If Susie Wolff doesn't have a supporter, it means she's dead. She's personally responsible for Starburst releasing a fully pink pack, and I have not thanked her for that yet. So thank you.
Facts. Yeah, you're welcome.
And she's also putting journalists out of a job with the research skills that we have really put into motion for this episode. It is my fantastic co-host and the main reason we're all here. It is Tasha.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Excited to talk about these topics with you. Not excited about the topics, but excited to discuss these things. Because I think
it's been a long week.
The discourse. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right. The discourse around all of these topics that we're going to cover today has been really active.
Yes.
So we're here to give our opinions. More importantly, with some of these topics, Tasha is here to give her opinions. But before we get all serious, man, I messed that up because the first thing we're going to talk about is a little serious. But in last week's episode, you and I spoke about the team pictures. I think that was last week's episode.
Yeah.
And how, they were very cool and everything, but you could really see right off the bat, if you play the Count the Minorities game, it wasn't a good look.
They were a little monochromatic,
Monochromatic is a very cool word to use. Damn, you should have given me. Why didn't you give me that word before the show? Hey, she's keeping it for herself.
Let's cut and go. We'll start over. We'll start over.
We don't have the budget for that. You know that. But then something else happened with the picture. Somebody else had an opinion.
Sir Lewis Hamilton. He saw the same thing we saw. I was like, maybe he's a fan of the show. And he was like, wait a minute, they're right. This is something's askew with these images. And he gave his opinion on. I think he gave the most rational opinion that there is, which is like, we still have a lot of work to do. Yeah. I looked at all these photos and I was just like, damn, there's still not as much diversity amongst these teams as, I would hope
as
for.
We wish.
Yeah, we would hope for. So I don't think he said anything wrong. He wasn't like fire everybody who's not black or like a person of color or a woman and start over and only hire those people. That's like not what he's saying. But the opportunities for marginalized groups to get into F1, it's still very like few and far between. So the pipeline to see people who look like himself, to see more women in the sport is quite, it's backed up a little bit, like we're trying to see progress. And like, you don't see that when you look at these team photos and it's just like 75 white guys and they all look alike, which is crazy, like copy paste. So
he did also like put some blame on, which no reason to, but like he also put some blame onto himself with regards to like him saying like we all need to do better. Yeah. Like he's not saying you all need to do better. Like he's got initiatives and things like that are making change. But I think that, and I think we talked about this last episode, like probably if you pull up the pictures from 2010, there's probably going to be no women, right? So it's like there's definitely progress. We all wish it were quicker. But it was good to hear from the ambassador of all things non-racing, because it's the only guy who speaks up on this type of stuff.
He's the only one who'll ever say what's like obvious. And like to your point, I mean, I'm sure he's had to check his own like biases like about women, like obviously he can speak to being person of color, of being black, of being the only person in the room who looks like him, but he has no idea what it's like to be a woman. So I'm sure for him it did take a lot to kind of like kind of understand what those barriers look like even more. And so it is interesting that it's about a collective, not one person's responsible. We're all responsible as a group to make the sport just more inclusive and diverse in general. And I just feel like the pushback against it is like just so disingenuous, because it's like, if everything in life was truly based upon merit, a lot of these spaces would reflect society and would truly reflect the different demographics and groups that exist. But when you put roadblocks in front of certain people and you basically don't give them the same opportunities. You cannot with your whole chest be like, well, the reason why people of color or women aren't in these positions is because, off of merit, they're losing out on these roles when like they never had the opportunity to even apply for these roles in the first place. So it's such a disingenuous argument, and I hate it. And yeah, I just hate it. Like
it really is
annoying.
like,
yeah.
And this, never. It really, what strikes me is as what I've seen is in this space, women need to know not the same. They need to know more. They need to know, like, they can't make a mistake. Like, there are so many extra rules and regulations, and I say rules and regulations like society placed them there, not like they're actual rules and regulations of like, women have to prove themselves constantly. So much more than a white guy. Like, so absolutely, there's probably so many people on merit, so many women on merit that deserve to be there, but won't because the system is this way. And
I mean, like, I've heard people say stuff like, I've changed my race on applications to say white, and then miraculously I'm getting phone calls about jobs.
More callbacks.
Like if they have a even remotely ethnic sounding name, they change it, or they go by their initials, or if it's a woman, they go by their initials. So it sounds more masculine. Like all of these ways that people of color or marginalized groups kind of like game the system. Yep. And it proves that it was never about their resume. Because if it's the same resume, but you just change the name or you change the race that's on that, associated with that, and you're calling me back, it was never about my qualifications. It was about your biases of me being a woman or me being a person of color or being both. And so that's why it's like, you can't say that this is all purely based off of merit when you have recruiters with stacks of resumes and CVs and stuff, and they see people, though this is an ethnic sounding name, and then just like immediately discredit that person. Right. So it's like, that's why this conversation has to continue happening, because when you actually dig into these stories and like understand what people are having to do just to get employed or get opportunities in these industries that are so heavily gatekept, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you can't walk away from it being like, oh, this is just, what did I see a lot on Twitter? Race baiting. This is, like just all those dumbass, like,
who invented that fucking concept, race baiting. Know who created that. You know the skin color of the first person who said that's race baiting. Oh my God.
So yeah, anyway. That was a fun way to start the week, I think, for me. It's invigorating conversation.
I am very discouraged. I am in no way the victim in any way. And I see this happening, and I think of you, and I think of Tandy, and I think of Danny, and I think of like most of the people around me that I consider the funniest, the most creative, the most informed, like, are mostly all women and women of color. And I am like, this week I add onto that, like, I put myself in your shoes, and there's so many things I can't understand.
Right.
But one thing that I do see is like, why the fuck would I want to keep doing this? Like, why am I this funny, this informed? Why do I know this many things? But there's these extra credentials that I don't meet that is literally the answer next to where it says gender. Right. Like, so what I'm saying is, so much respect, and like, I wish it wasn't like this, but so much respect to women who like still try to get into this space, even though the system says you're not welcome.
Yeah. I mean, why shouldn't we? I mean, I don't, like, what's the alternative? You know what I'm saying? Like, people say you can't do something, so you just don't do it. Like, you don't try. Like, that doesn't, for me, it just doesn't. I've never been that kind of person. I just see extra challenges as like, okay, maybe it will take longer, but it's not impossible. I wish I didn't have to take the long, arduous journey of like, going through what we have to go through. But at the same time, there's that satisfaction of like, all these barriers are in place, and you just still, you're able to do what you do.
Yeah. Okay. So this second topic that we have for today is a quite a little 180. Do you think you could have done a better job with Joe's twist? That's my first question.
Oh my God. Okay.
Would you have done a better job?
Would I have wanted to do it? No, but yes, I could have.
But you would have done a better job.
Yeah.
Okay. Where I'm going with this is, is the terrible quality of the twist insulting, or is it the whole concept? Like, if the twist were good, would this be less terrible?
No, it would still be terrible. It would still be terrible.
Okay, good.
Because when Black people wear their hair like that, we are fired from jobs or told to change it. You have students getting suspended from school for wearing their hair like that. We had laws in America that were just passed called the Crown Act that basically said that we can no longer be discriminated for wearing the way our hair grows out of our head in our workplace. So when you like put all of it in context of like, you know, how Black people are perceived when we wear our cultural hairstyles versus when people want to dabble in it, you know, because it's, what did he say? Crazy. It's just like a little crazy, goofy.
I'm young, so it's time to do crazy things.
Like, you know, and then at that point you can no longer say like, oh, well, he appreciates Black culture, that's why he's doing it. Like, if he appreciated it, he would never call it crazy, right? Like, you don't disrespect something, belittle it, and at the same time want to be accepted by it. Like, that just doesn't work for me. And I like Joe, and I'm not trying to cancel. I'm not leading the brigade for this guy. Like, it is what it is. Like, we are in an era where everybody just wants to, you know, try on what's popular, right? Like, everybody wants to try, but there's a level of disrespect that happens for Black people when they look at Lewis. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at how he's treated when he wears his hair. Like, it's how it comes out of his head. Right. But like, there's always somebody with some shit to say about it. They call it all kinds of names. And, you know, I feel like if you don't have respect for the culture, like deeply have respect for the culture, not just like, oh, you know, I like to dress like this guy. I like to put these, you know, shoes on. And like, that's not respect. Like, if you really respected like Black culture, like you wouldn't do something like that, because we've had this conversation before about cultural appropriation. We've ad nauseum gone over why it's not right. Why, you know, if a certain group can't wear it without getting some shit, why, I'm Black, I can't wear my hair without getting shit, right? Why should you be able to wear a Black hairstyle without getting shit for it? Yeah. Right? Like, if you want the full Black experience, like, here you go. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to be critiqued for being Black. Well, you know, that's what happens.
You want to be stereotyped, my guy? You want, because I got them for you.
Like, but, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't want the critique that comes along with wearing Black hairstyles or like cultural hairstyles from other cultures, like, then don't do it. Because we've had these conversations before. Said. It's done and dusted. Like, so people who, like, I have people in my Twitter mentions, like, you know, I'm sitting here like laughing. It's like the middle of the night. I'm like on Twitter just like laughing because I think it's funny first. Like, I just feel like it's funny, but it's not funny, right? Like, not funny, haha, but like, it's just like, girl. Because it was like the little cuffs plus the burnt ends. Like, it's just very specific. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, you just don't do that. So anyway, like, I'm like, you know, I'm bullshitting on Twitter, and then all these random dudes are like, it's always Black women who want to get, and I'm just like, why are y'all the weakest links? Like, why did you find my tweet? You know what I'm saying? Like, the one where I have a meme in it, and I'm pretty much like just saying like it looks trash. That's it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You got gel. You had. It was like the ends looked like shit. Like, you had the little pieces coming out. I'm like, stop doing these styles if you don't have the hair texture for these. Are protective styles. You don't have anything to protect, okay? Like, it's fine. You could just admire it. You could just share the photos that you like of people who have it that you like, but you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it.
I thought he would know better because he's also like, he's very into basketball.
Yeah.
And you know, haven't seen that look on non-Black NBA players.
Like, come on, son.
And I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's just, I think the conversation is, I think a lot of the conversations that we have on Twitter are eye-opening to me, of people who just, I think, are contrarian just for the sake of, who will like refuse to actually like dive deeper into like why stuff gets frowned upon, or like why we're still having these conversations. There was an account that I actually really enjoyed following, who just like really smart guy, like always kind of breaking down like telemetry and all kinds of like cool stuff about F1, and like how, it's like, you are so fucking well versed in a sport that is so technical, so science based, so mathematics based. And then you'll sit here and say, well, I don't understand why it's still a big deal that Zhou Guanyu is wearing twists. I'm just like, so are you just being obtuse on purpose? Or because like, if you can understand aerodynamics, we can understand cultural appropriation. Like, I don't understand how you can understand one without the other. Like, is it a big word for Elmo? Like, what are we like?
As someone who went to engineering school, I can guarantee that there are people out there who can solve the shit out of equations that do not have any idea how to like socially. Don't know how to handle the social landscape.
Yeah, it became very evident.
But it's a shame.
It is. So I just have everybody on mute. Like, truly, I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to argue anymore with anybody because I just think you're all idiots anyway.
It's just incredible how like Black people will get more flack for being Black and like expressing their Black heritage and their culture than other cultures appropriating Black culture.
Like, everybody just feels like it's a free-for-all. Like, I just want to be, I want to
like, it's a buffet. Like, it's a buffet.
Like, oh, I want the big lips, and I want the hips, and I want the whatever. But it's like, I want a tan. I want the braids. I want everything. But it's like, ask them to say Black Lives Matter. And it's like, well, wait a minute now. I didn't say all that, buddy. Yeah. Like, okay. All right.
Yeah. They dip their foot in the water. Mm-hmm. But when it gets cold, it's like, oh no, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Unnecessary. And I like what you said, because it's not coming from a cancel thing. It's coming from he made a mistake. Hopefully he realizes that it was a mistake. Hopefully it's like not something that he repeats. Another thing that you said that I did not, because this is my problem. I read the tweet. I read the tweet and the caption, and it said like, I'm young, and when you're young, it's time to do crazy stuff.
Right.
I said that to myself in 8th grade before I got frosted tips to look like NSYNC. So I'm not even joking. Like, I remember telling myself that because everybody was getting frosted tips.
Right.
And I was like, hair grows. I'm young. It's fine.
Right. It's fine.
And I got my frosted tips. And then I see Joe do this, but it's like, it didn't click for me until you said it. Mm-hmm. Why are you calling it crazy?
Right.
You know it's crazy? Then why are you doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
If you know it's crazy. Because I wasn't appropriating culture. I was literally just getting blonde tips in my hair.
You were appropriating boy band culture.
But I could sing every NSYNC song.
Was
so
egregious.
If anybody comes up to me, if anybody came up to me, I'd be like, bitch, make me sing. I'll sing every song.
Like, speaking of non-Blacks and Kanekalon, Chris Kirkpatrick was an egregious offender of Black appropriation. That man had the little braids that were always like sticking up out of his like.
Actually, now that you mentioned it, that dude, even how he dressed,
Fu Manskito, like that whole vibe, like, oh man,
and sync. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
so an article came out that was interesting to me, and it's basically McLaren F1 team ready to help Norris stop being so harsh on himself.
That's sweet of them.
And that is very sweet of them. But I bring this up to you because they talked about how they are considering they mentioned like getting him an entourage for support, etc.
Okay.
And they mentioned that this is a thing they do in tennis.
I mean, yeah, like they'll have like a player will have like a coach, like their hitting partner will be there. Sometimes their publicist or like there's physio will be there. Like, I mean, it's an entourage, but like in, I think the loosest sense of the word, like there's professional people around them who are there to like support them.
Yeah. So that's
like
basically
homies, like hanging out, watching tennis.
This led McLaren to consider ways to support Norris, such as replicating the entourage given to help tennis players. And one thing that I like though is they're trying to get Norris to target consistency, not perfection. And I think that is a dope line because I think that's something that we could all apply to ourselves.
Absolutely.
we could all
absolutely.
Reaching consistency is a great thing to reach.
Yeah.
But like we constantly want to reach perfection.
Right.
And I thought that was a very relatable thing when I read.
That is relatable. That is, I mean, Lando is super hard on himself. Like anytime you see him after a race where he didn't do well, or even like was it the quali that he got, I think, pole, and he was like, in the car, he was saying like how that was my worst lap ever.
Yeah.
Like, mind you, he got pole for that race, but he was like still beating himself up because he, I guess, felt like he could have done more. So, I mean, yeah, I know that they're all like really hypercritical of themselves. But yeah, there has to be, the self-deprecation kind of like gets like to be a bit much. It's like, dude, you're not that fucking bad.
It used to be funny, like, and now that even McLaren's coming out with it, I'm concerned. I'm like, damn, this person really needs help.
Yeah, you're not that bad, Lando. It's,
it's okay, Lando. It's okay.
It's okay.
Like the Piastri's gonna overtake you maybe next year, but it's okay. You're still good.
Yeah.
So this last one is hilarious because we told F1 that we hate sprints.
Yeah.
But what did we say was cool about the sprints? What was the one morsel that we said, this is actually pretty cool though? We should keep this. What was it?
We were like, yo, the alternative tire allocation shit was pretty cool. Like that like made qualies way more interesting when they
tell the people what alternative tire allocation.
What do you mean? Oh, so it would be
tell the people what it is. Yeah.
So for each like session, they would have a mandatory tire compound that they had to use. So it would be hards, then actually I think it was mediums, then softs for most.
We saw it hard, medium, soft, and in a different race we saw medium, soft.
Yeah. So they just had like a specific compound that they had to use. So it produced interesting qualities like, Hungary. We had Lewis Hamilton take pole, and that was, because of this format allowed us to see some different people kind of, excelling. We had, I think was the same one where we had the Alfa Romeos were doing really well, in quality.
Nico Hulkenberg did really well in one of them as well with the tire allocations.
So it helped some of the other teams like be able to perform better in quali.
And so they took this one compliment that Tasha and Mario gave them, and they said, nah.
Yeah.
So they've changed the 2024 sporting regulations to scrap the alternative tire allocation format during qualifying. It's just funny to me because you can pull up our episodes and we're like saying they did well with this.
Right.
They should keep this. And it's literally the only thing that they stopped doing. Like, that's crazy. Like, what are the odds?
They're like, I'm sorry, we don't really care that much what you guys think. So,
So there's also been changes to qualifying and shootout scrutineering, where they will select specific cars for further checks rather than at least 3, which was previously the case.
Specific cars, yeah.
So Lewis Hamilton and 2 more, right?
Right. Best of luck to car 44.
Yeah. Hopefully the penalties that you're definitely going to get aren't that bad.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Sorry. Yeah, for real.
Oh, actually, that's a great segue to the main topic that's also going to get Mercedes a bunch of penalties. Whew. But before that, if you are on YouTube, make sure to leave, comment, like, subscribe to the channel. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to give us those 5 stars. Write a review. We're still waiting for reviews and haikus to read. Like, luckily, F1 was really, really nice to us this week, giving us way too many topics to cover. But like one day we'll be without topics and we need to crowdsource our information. We also have a Patreon with ad-free episodes, exclusive content, and first dibs on merch. With that said, we have a very important topic that is our main topic for today. And it is everything related to Susie Wolff and the allegations that were thrown her way. So what we've done to cover this topic is we created a timeline of events or important events that we want to talk about. So Tasha,
yes,
get us started on, and I want you to start with, how did you find out about what you're like the first thing that happened?
Well, I mean, we talked about it last weekend. That's our episode was called Susie Wolff in the Chamber of Secrets, because it was just like, what information could Susie Wolff possibly be privy to that, is causing all of this commotion? The first thing I saw was a tweet, just like a random tweet about this like investigation into Toto Wolff and Susie Wolff. And so we kind of covered that like really briefly last week. I had no clue between last Saturday and today that we would have had like a whole avalanche of events that have happened since then. So the first thing that started this all off was an article from Business F1, which is, very interesting source of news. They had an article titled "Team Principals Seek a Resolution Over Wolff's Conflicts of Interest. Pillow Talk riles rival team principals as crisis deepens."
If you are listening, I don't know if we're gonna do that. Never mind. All I want to say is, the article title isn't enough.
Yeah, we'll
for the picture.
We'll put the picture up on. YouTube.
We will put the article. So if you're listening, jump to YouTube real quick and look at the pages.
Yes,
because I did not do this until today, and I was already taken aback by the vocabulary.
Yeah,
but Susie Wolff is literally sitting on a bed.
Yes. So there.
Anyways, I just have to say.
Yeah, I mean, so the conversation. I mean, we'll get into that. I don't want to jump ahead too much, but yeah, when you look at the way that this article and the accompanying like images it's framed, it's just sort of like, Toto and Susie are, husband and wife who just share all of this insider information between themselves at home. And
to call it pillow talk.
And then you have a whole entire article that's based off of these very vague allegations that have no one's attributed to them, right? So it's like you have team principal 1 and team principal 2, but nobody's actually saying with their chest, like, how they feel. So everybody's anonymous in this article. So it's just like to me, feels like a hit piece. It's just sort of like
Why does it feel like why does it feel like a hit piece?
Well, I mean, because the main thing is, it seems like the point is to harm the reputation of Toto Wolff and Susie Wolff. And I think in the one fell swoop, you make it appear like these two people who have very high profile jobs in F1 and F1 Academy are incapable of separating business, from their married life. So I think that insinuation alone is crazy. But then you also have Toto. This is the third time that he's now being accused of receiving non-public information and saying it in a team meeting or a team principal meeting. So this is just like another repeated attempt at making Toto look completely untrustworthy as a team principal.
And so the last time that it happened, or the most recent time that it happened, I believe, was with the cost cap situation, that he got information that nobody else had.
Yeah. The article mentions, I'll read it real quick. It says, Toto Wolff has a history of gleaning confidential information and then using it to his team's benefit in sensitive situations. At the 2022 Singapore Grand Prix last year, Wolff received confidential information from within the FIA concerning the results of the 2021 cost cap audit and leaked it to the media to severely embarrass Christian Horner, team principal of Red Bull Racing, who was unaware. The information turned out to be word for word accurate, and it was later revealed Wolff had extracted this information from conversations with Shayla Ann Rao, interim general secretary for motorsport at the FIA. Rao has previously worked for Wolff as his special advisor, and the two had remained very close. It was a huge breach of confidence because of the sensitivity of the cost cap audit, which was effectively released early before even Red Bull or any of the teams knew the outcome. So
who was the scapegoat for that little situation?
Right. But at no point did we ever, did any of that actually end up being true? We don't know who leaked any of that stuff. But I find it really, really interesting that in this article, it's just said so matter of factly. You know what I mean? Like, no allegedly, no reportedly, nothing that would cover them. So this is just said so matter of factly. So again, you're adding this this air of like, validity to these claims that, Toto Wolff, this isn't the first time he's done something like that. So yeah, his character is definitely getting, to me, assassinated, and along with Shayla, because you also are taking another powerful woman that he's connected to and essentially saying, yeah, it was her that threw, and throwing her under the bus with no proof.
Yeah. And the article has no quotes and no evidence at all. Yeah. Like there is literally, you and I could have written this, like, and it would be equivalent. So that comes out, and I do want to provide some context because I was shocked about this. So the author of the article is Tom Rubython. He wrote it for, as Tasha mentioned, Business F1, the paper owned by Bernie Ecclestone. Fun fact about the author, Tom Rubython, he's got a nice little record to himself. Out of every British journalist, he has been sued the most for libel. He's also written great little articles, like one called The Look from the Paddock, where he went through speaking about the different F1 driver girlfriends and hit up 3 drivers saying they are homosexual. He also, in the same article, said that this article is going to make people angry because it's 2021.
Right.
He's accused Lewis of using the race card many a times. He wrote about the W Series that the W Series would do better if the female drivers used their sex appeal to market the series to make it financially viable.
And the images that accompany that article are crazy because Susie Wolff is in one of them. So crazy. Right?
The next one. Our failed driver turned failed DJ, Nikita Mazepin, once groped a woman, and wouldn't you know, she did not want to be groped.
Imagine.
This comes out, and he writes an article suggesting that Mazepin is just a bad boy who is bringing glamour back to F1 in the style of James Hunt.
Yeah.
Those are just a few examples that are F1 related. This dude has written a lot more. He's been sued. He is probably, I don't know nothing, but speaking, I'm sure, my thought is that Bernie Ecclestone must be the only person that will give this man a job, because it was not difficult to find that this is what is it? The opposite of a good source, but like untrustworthy source.
I mean, I would call him like a bad actor.
And it's so obvious.
It's very obvious. Yeah.
And yet, this ridiculous article, this article that at least in the US, like it's very common for grocery stores to have tabloids in like where you check out. Yeah. And those tabloids say things that you don't have to know nothing to know that those are like outrageous. Yeah. This is basically a tabloid article that made all of this happen.
Yes.
I can't believe. I just can't believe that, like, go ahead.
I can believe it.
You can believe it.
I can believe it. I mean, if your goal is to assassinate somebody's character, you're not going to ask like some Pulitzer Prize winning journalist to write that piece for you. You just need one person willing to, I mean, clearly somebody without integrity to do something like this, and boom, there you go. So yeah, it's not surprising to me.
To me, it's surprising that it became such a big deal in F1 and FIA instead of just saying, everybody just saying, this guy is crazy and a bad journalist.
Right.
So the statement comes out, and not the statement, I'm sorry, the article comes out. And then we have, was Mercedes before Susie?
Well, it was the FIA statement first. Okay. Then it was.
So the FIA come out with a statement. Says, the FIA is aware of media speculation centered on the allegation of information of a confidential nature being passed to an F1 team principal from a member of FOM personnel. The FIA compliance department is looking into the matter.
Yeah.
When I read that, I did not have it in my cards that this was going to last 48 hours. I did not have it in my cards that and I know I'm not jumping forward, but like I'm just talking about my headspace when I read this for the first time. Like I thought this was going to start a very, very long, messy, unnecessary investigation.
Right.
Because these are such serious allegations.
Right.
I didn't expect it to go how it went. So I read this and I think this needs to be investigated. It needs to get to the bottom of it, but it'll take a long time.
Right.
After the FIA come out with a statement, you want to go ahead and read Mercedes' statement?
Yeah. So Mercedes then came out and said, we note the generic statement from the FIA this evening, which responds to substantiated allegations from a single media outlet and the off-record briefing, which has linked it to the team principal of Mercedes AMG F1. The team has received no communication from the FIA compliance department on this topic, and it was highly surprising to learn of the investigation through a media statement. Wild.
What do you think about Mercedes finding out from Twitter, basically?
I mean, that's how I think I'm looking at this, everything happening at once. And I'm just sort of like, this isn't serious. You know, if these were serious claims, this would have come from a series of serious sources on record who had like actual evidence of something happening. You would have had a serious investigation with, you know, everybody being made aware that they were under investigation for their behavior, right? Or alleged behavior. So the fact that like Mercedes is saying, well, this is news to us and we're learning it at the same time as everybody else is incredibly, incredibly unserious to me. Like this is like nothing else. Like at this point, I'm like, okay, something else is happening here. This is not about conflicts of interest. Like, no.
That's what we're calling it.
Yeah.
Just like Mercedes, F1 comes out with a statement and says that we note the public statement made by the FIA this evening. It was not shared with us in advance. Just another nail in what you're talking about. It's like, are we investigating? Like are we investigating these two people but not talking to them? Are we like what exactly is happening?
And then the FOM employs Susie, so it's like you're not even talking to us. Like, you know, like what exactly? What kind of investigation are we doing here? Like, there's no sense to this. So yeah.
After the F1 statement, I believe that's when we get Susie Wolff's first statement.
Yeah. Want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
People don't want to hear me read it.
Susie Wolff says, I am deeply insulted, but sadly unsurprised at the public allegations that have been made this evening. It is disheartening that my integrity is being called into question in such a manner, especially when it seems to be rooted in intimidatory and misogynistic behavior and focus on my marital status rather than my abilities. Throughout my career in motorsport, I have encountered and overcome numerous obstacles, and I refuse to let these baseless allegations overshadow my dedication and passion for F1 Academy. As a woman in the sport, I have faced my fair share of challenges, but my commitment to breaking down barriers and paving the way for future generations to succeed remains unwavering. In the strongest possible terms, I reject these allegations.
Queen shit.
My girl said, I'm not surprised at this behavior. That's insane to me.
She started and talk about that being the first sentence.
The first line, you know what I'm saying? Like, as I was unsurprised at this, what's happening behind the scenes, right? Like, because the fact that this is all bubbling over publicly lets me know that some shit's been going off in the background. I mean, obviously, you know, Toto Wolff, Mercedes have had a very rocky last 2 years, to put it very mildly. So I know she's privy to a lot of, Toto's probably feelings about what's going on. She sees publicly what's happening between the FIA and Mercedes and FIA and Lewis. Like, she's seeing all of this stuff. Like, everybody else is seeing all of this stuff. So yeah, I'm very curious as to how now we're getting into like this is spilling out into the public and it's becoming a mess publicly.
To me, they're like, companies in general are always so hush about these things,
right?
That I was like, if any of this was true, we would not have found out.
Correct.
At least we would not have found out for 3 months. We would not have found out until this investigation would have been over and done with. We would have gotten morsels like from media or whatever and be like, wow, that's so weird. What's happening? But if this were serious,
right,
we wouldn't be finding out. this shit wouldn't be going on Twitter.
Absolutely not.
Which also going on Twitter is the next step is every team comes out saying, not me.
Yeah, we didn't make a statement.
I don't give a fuck. We support her. Every team said it. Every team said, like, Susie's been killing it at F1 Academy, and we have a driver for F1 Academy. Like, we're all in the F1 Academy bus.
Yeah, that's what I liked about the statement, was that we are pleased and proud to support F1 Academy and its managing director through our commitment to sponsor an entrant in our liveries from next season. And like, this is kind of where I felt like, it makes a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense that, like, Liberty is trying to protect her, which is, I guess, why all these teams appear to be unified, because this is like their latest racing series, right? Like this has just launched within this last year, right? We had the inaugural season. We had one race that was televised. What does that look like for the FIA president to basically say in so many words, essentially, like, yeah, we're looking into this allegation that the managing director of F1 Academy is feeding her husband confidential information? Like, what does that look like for this new category to welcome women into the world of F1 and into motorsport? What does that look like for the FIA president to be like essentially stamping these claims, saying like, oh, well, they're legitimate enough that we should look into it publicly?
Please remember where it came from, which we talked about 5 minutes ago, people.
Right.
Remember where these allegations came from. And the FIA is saying, we trust them. We trust the article more than we trust Susie and Toto Wolff.
Right.
And that's it. That's absurd.
Now,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, I was going to say, to your point of like, if they need to investigate, they need to investigate, right? But like,
yeah, it's absolutely
making it public in this way, piggybacking off of this random ass article that clearly seems to be written with a pure agenda, right? Like, you can't take this any way than like, oh, we're essentially trying to harm their reputation. And Toto, now this is his second, third time or whatever being accused of something like this, but now we're dragging his
now we got to put Susie
family into it. Yeah. So I think there's like something extra kind of nasty about that. And the fact that, they publicly announced that they're doing this investigation, I think is where all of this is going left, right? Like, if there is conflicts of interest, if there's shit going behind the scenes that you think is legitimate, investigate that and then get back to us with what you find. But this whole shit up front of like, yeah, we're going to look into this article 4 days or whatever after it was even written is just insane to me. Like, there's no way you can justify what occurred publicly.
The energy behind dragging her, it was too much,
right?
Like too much,
right?
Like, it gives hit piece. It gives like anything and everything we can do to disparage her. I'm not gonna go over over all of it, but it's not difficult to find Susie Wolff's credentials. It's not difficult to find all of the things that she's done for herself and people around her.
Right.
She's been karting since she was 8. She's raced against Lewis Hamilton. And even if none of that were
Test
true,
driver at Williams, yeah.
Even if none of that were true, look at the track record of just what she's done with like the F1 Academy.
Right.
Like, it's going to be they're going to be televising the races now. Like, things are, oh my gosh. That's what made me think. That's what made me think like that no team is involved in this for real, because it's PR suicide.
Yes.
Like, it's literal PR. Like, anybody who does that is literally, and that's what I think is like, it was rare, because I was looking at people blame Red Bull, and I was like, I don't really think Red Bull had anything to do with this, because like, who benefits from it? Like, Horner does Horner things, and it is very annoying.
Right.
He does them to get like Red Bull benefits, like to get like anything and everything to make Red Bull better.
Right.
It sucks that he tries tearing others down to make himself better, but there's no reason to do this to Mercedes. Mercedes is not better right now. And if anybody finds out who the person that was shit talking Susie and like that person's done. Not like he's going to be fired, but like that person's going to be the hated, like the most hated person.
Yeah. I mean, yes, but I also feel like I don't believe for one second that like no one was involved besides Ben Sulayem. Like I do feel like you publicly, the fact that there was like a united front publicly still doesn't mean that stuff wasn't happening behind the scenes. Yeah. To your point, definitely PR suicide for whoever it is, which is why it makes it even crazier that this was public to begin with. I think Ben in this case just bit off a lot more than he could chew, because I think he thought that, you know, he could just say whatever he wanted or substantiate whatever he wanted. I feel like this article was written with the purpose of triggering this investigation to begin with, just because of like the timeline. Like, you know, article gets printed. Oh my God, we really got to look into this. Like, this is within like a 4 or 5 day span. Like, you're like, try harder to make shit look, you know, like less coincidental. That's how I feel a little bit about this. But yeah, I think Ben just like went for too much. Like he flew too close to the sun, and now he's, I think, seeing the repercussions of this, because Susie's not the one that you want to mess with, because publicly no one, to my knowledge, has ever had a problem with her. Not that that should matter, but her character is a lot more solid publicly than his is, or anybody really in Formula One.
Probably most people in that paddock.
So when it's allegations of like, you're talking about like, oh, she's potentially, you know, siphoning information to him, like the first thing people think is like Susie Wolff. Like, we thinking of the same
Not
Susie
my
Wolff?
Susie.
Like, she doesn't seem like that kind of person at all. And I'm not saying she can't be, but I just think that if you're going to come for somebody's character, you really got to make sure you also have evidence and facts behind it, because no one's going to believe you off of an article written by somebody who thinks that women should be like topless to sell a sport. You know, like that's just insane to me. I don't know.
All of this happening, all this happening on Susie, like basically Susie Wolff's birthday week.
It's crazy.
No respect.
Yeah.
And then, just 2 days later, the FIA comes out with, "Nah, guys, we're good.
Yeah,
everything's above board." Just
like that.
I'll read the villains. You can read the heroes. The FIA comes out with, following a review of Formula One management's F1 code of conduct and F1 conflict of interest policy, blah, 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 blah. The FIA is satisfied that FOM's compliance management system is robust enough to prevent any unauthorized disclosure of confidential information. The FIA can confirm there is no ongoing investigation. The FIA reaffirms its commitment to integrity and fairness.
That's funny. LOL.
What is more, was your first your first reaction like, so soon? Or was it, this is the shittiest, like the wording of it is so bad?
Oh, no, my initial reaction was, this is bullshit. Like, it already reeked of bullshit to begin with, but now you're essentially not even giving it the due diligence that you should have, because you created this huge media storm of back and forth between two different people. You created all of this drama by publicly announcing you were investigating, and then your investigation was like 24 hours. Like, that is so that's insulting. More than anything, that's just like extremely insulting, because essentially it wasn't that important. Like, if it's something that could be open and shut within 24 hours, it wasn't important enough for you to publicly announce that you were investigating it. I'm sorry. That's crazy.
And as part of the investigation, who do you think they should have talked to?
I mean, maybe Susie and Toto Wolff probably would have been great. I think Stefano Domenicali was probably expecting a phone call as well, you know, just to you know, maybe have a little insight into something about his employee getting, because where would she have gotten that information from? You know, you're implicating a lot of people. When you're blaming Susie for being the kind of liaison between FOM and Toto Wolff as the team principal of Mercedes, you're implicating a lot of people, because she would have had to get that information from somewhere, unless she's there after hours, like putting hard drives in people's computers and shit. Like, who would she have
Whoa,
gotten
you
it
think
from?
Susie Wolff was a Mission Impossible shit?
Stealing the knock list, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
And
like,
and I know she'd be capable. I know she didn't do it, but damn sure she'd be capable of doing it.
Yeah. So, so like a lot of you can't just investigate without contacting people. Because what are you trying to say? You know what I'm saying? Like now you're making our product, you're making everybody associated with this look some kind of way. Now, granted, this is Formula One. It already looks some kind of way. So even that's saying a lot. You know what I'm like? The fact that everybody now is really insulted is saying a lot. You know?
It seems like, to me, it seems like seemed like the start of a civil war.
Yeah.
Because it really does feel like you messed with the wrong person with regards to Susie.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this seems so like, it's just, you've said it really. It's just, the piece that I'm trying really hard to connect is like, how did we get here from a tabloid? Like, there's no way that like that tabloid wasn't, or that article wasn't asked to be written by someone internal. Like, there's no way because if somebody, God, you with the words, because if somebody didn't commission that, then we would have just ignored it.
Right.
We would have just been like, this guy crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But they fast forwarded the time between article and this is a big problem reeks of like, this was all a meticulous plan.
Right.
But then how does it fall? Do you think this is maybe because like they realize all of the teams are coming together? So like this, because you said earlier that he bit off more than he could chew.
Yeah.
I think that he was surprised by all 10 teams.
Yes.
Putting out something together.
Yeah.
I think he was like, I can make this be Red Bull's fault or somebody else's fault because they won't speak up. And that's it. Right. So like, I think this is where it's like, I bit off more than I can chew. Mm-hmm. These people are banding together. So do you think he just pulled the plug on it?
Absolutely. Because if you commission something with the intention of harming somebody's reputation, allegedly, let me add that, because
he didn't add that.
Unlike them, I'm not stupid
he didn't
enough.
I haven't seen a fucking.
I'm just saying, I'm not stupid enough to start throwing shit around and not say allegedly. That's the least you can do if you don't want to be sued.
Right. I haven't seen much of that word in the articles, though. God.
Right. Like, that's the least you can do. Oh my God, my train of thought is now completely gone.
So you were. So I was saying that it's like
sorry. So like if the intention is to harm somebody's reputation, right? Yeah. And you allegedly, let's say, make some plans with some people to, set some things in motion, but the intention was never really to investigate, because investigations, you need to return some like information, right? But there's no information. There's nothing that they're going to turn up from this that will ever substantiate what was said, right? So but you know that going in, because allegedly that was your plan, right? So that's why I do think it was open and shut, because there's nowhere for this to go. There's no one that you can interview. There's no emails that you can pull. There's no phone records that you can pull that's going to make anything that you said in this article true, because you knew it was false from the get-go. The issue is that you decided to do it only 2 days later, when if you were smart, you should have just dragged it out a few weeks just to make it look like you did something.
Because they didn't do anything.
Because you didn't do anything.
You cannot convince me that they did anything.
So now you're just adding, insult to injury. And that's why now you're in a situation where, it's what you were saying with like the FIA F1 beef. Now you really are at a situation where we're seeing, we're hearing, there was an article, I think, that came out this week about like some team principals and bosses and people within F1 really are looking to separate themselves from the FIA because of Ben Sulayem specifically, because they don't like how he's running the FIA. And as a fan, it's interesting seeing him, since his appointment, has just seemed like he's been using his position to retaliate and be vindictive and basically abuse his power as the FIA president, to never be held accountable for anything, to unfairly, punish certain people, certain teams, certain drivers. Like, this just feels in step with some shit he would do, because he doesn't like potentially, the fact that, again, this is hearsay, but Toto has maybe been in the background challenging him a lot. So there's this power struggle between Toto and Ben was like, well, I'm going to put you in your place. And it backfired spectacularly. So
spectacularly.
Yeah. And we can kind of glean that because, again, he had nothing to say. Oh, investigation's over. Like, all right, if you really had faith that this would have turned up something that you could use to justify the investigation, you would have gone through with it. So it just tells me personally that, like, you never had anything to begin with. There was never anything. There's never any reason for this beyond just making them seem like people you can't trust.
No investigation was done. Yeah. Nothing was looked at.
Right.
Like, there's just no way. Yeah. You didn't talk to Susie or Toto. That's crazy.
Insane.
Maybe they talked to Jack. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's you again.
It's me again.
Queen Susie. I struggle with Susie. Oh my God. Susie comes out with the second statement.
Yeah. So in response to FIA statement, Susie writes, when I saw the statement issued by the FIA yesterday morning, my first reaction was, is that it? For 2 days, insinuations have been made about my integrity in public and through background briefings, but nobody from the FIA has spoken to me directly.
Insane!
I might have been collateral damage in an unsuccessful attack on somebody else or the target of a failed attempt to discredit me personally, but I have worked too hard to have my reputation called into question by an unfounded press release. Mm-hmm. We have come a long way as a sport. I was extremely thankful for the unified support of the Formula One teams. I have worked with so many passionate women and men at F1 and the FIA who have the very best interests of our sport at heart. However, this episode has so far taken place without transparency or accountability. I have received online abuse about my work and my family. I will not allow myself to be intimidated and intend to follow up until I have found out who has instigated this campaign and misled the media. What happened this week is simply not good enough. As a sport, we must demand and we deserve better.
What a statement. I love the is that it?
Is that it?
I think that was I think she summarized our feelings better than anyone else.
Absolutely.
Because you read that FIA statement and hell yes, my reaction is, oh, is that it?
Yeah. I'm flipping the paper over looking for the apology. Like
Exactly.
I'm trying to find out where you got me fucked up at. Hold on. Like, is that on the page 2? Like, hold on.
Is this, okay. You gave me the abstract.
Right,
but where's the rest of it? The dissertation. Nothing else? Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Susie represented for the girls who have to get their emails proofread. I have to ask Christopher, like, can you read this and make sure that it comes across a certain way sometimes? Because people will try you. Professionally, people will try you. And sometimes you don't get to write stuff like this, in response. You gotta be measured. You gotta be this. She emptied the clip. But also it's not. She emptied the clip on them. Yeah.
She emptied the clip, but you read it and it's like it's the most way. Yeah. Exactly. In a very classy way.
Yeah.
I would love if this is what gets dragged for weeks and we find out a ton of stuff. Right. Is because now they're flipping, like they're literally flipping the script, and now Toto, Mercedes, and Susie are going to go through legal action. Yes. So it'll be great to find out what comes out of that. Do you have any final, before that?
Yeah.
What happens what needs to happen for Tasha to think I hate using justice, but like that consequences and repercussions actually happened? What satisfies you as a woman who is not going through what Susie's going through, but goddamn, have you gone through similar stuff? You're just not in the same position as Susie. So as a person who's gone through similar things, as a person who sees Susie go through this, what has to happen for you to be okay?
I mean, first and foremost, that small, petty little man needs to apologize to her, to Susie, like publicly. Because if you have enough gall to open an investigation based off of nothing, you need to also own up to that and apologize for the damage that it caused, like at the very least. I would definitely like to see where the legal route ends up, because I do feel like a lot of these F1 journalists and people who write about the sport just kind of say whatever, like, and I do think there should be consequence, not just in this case, but there's been a lot of articles that you read and you're just like, where are you getting this information from to say it so matter-of-factly? No, we reached out for comment, but nobody responded, allegedly this, like, none of that. No, like, none of that accountability, right? So I do think they should sue. And if this guy is used to getting sued for libel, then this should just be another day that ends in Y for him. But I do really feel like they need to take him and rinse him for this, because you shouldn't just be able to not just write it, print it. This went to print, right? Like, it's not like it's just like an online magazine. This is like printed. We're reading screenshots of Xerox, like people had to scan in the article for us to be able to read it. Like, that's crazy to print something like that and not check any facts. Everybody's anonymous. We're just going to throw these accusations around. You need to be sued, period. Like, I don't care. Like, at this point, bankrupt them if it's possible, because Mercedes is involved in it. And, at the end of the day, we focus a lot on Susie, but I will say, like, Toto and Mercedes have every right, I think, to also want to see some sort of legal accountability for this, because this is Mercedes, who is, as a team, as a brand, like, they're world renowned, like they don't have the time to be accused of cheating in Formula One. That does not go with the luxury brand that they are, like, you're really throwing their reputation as a brand under the bus as well, when you come for Toto like that. So the fact that Mercedes is basically saying, like, look, y'all are not going to sit here and keep calling the team principal a cheater, unsubstantiated, and get away with it. And so I'm happy that somebody's finally like, we're going to see what legal, action is possible, because somebody deserves to be held accountable to some degree. And I do think Ben finally just needs to resign, because he has shown me throughout the last 2 years that he is not fit for being the president of a governing body. Because if you're trying to run it like, an authoritarian, like, dictator, then you need to find something else. Like, this is a sport. You don't need to be trying to, like, rule with an iron fist. You don't need to be using your position to retaliate against people, to crush people. Like, you're supposed to be there to make sure everything is safe, ethical, so on and so forth. And I don't even feel like he's done that. We've had so many instances where people have been almost run over in pit lanes. Pierre almost fucking hit a truck in Japan, in the rain, like missiles flying in the background. Like, there's been so many unsafe instances where I feel like that's your business. Like, that's your job, and you haven't done that. And you're gonna now investigate 2 people, single them out for something that, like, you can't even say is true. And I'm supposed to believe that you have the best interest at heart of governing these sports. Like, you just need to go. Like, you're done. You're out. Like, you and your concussion.
So we need Ben to issue a public apology and get the fuck out.
Absolutely.
We need more accountability in the media. We need the author to be sued.
Mainly, yeah.
And, like, dragged to the ground. Anything else?
No, that sounds about right to me.
How do we fix? And she even said it. Yeah. How do we fix a woman? This woman has done everything right. Everything right. And I understand we don't know these people, so we don't really know.
Right.
But how do you fix and how do you deal with being a woman in a male-dominated space who did everything right, who's got the accolades and the credentials, who did not ask for any of this, who did not provoke any of this, but still she finds herself in the middle of this shit?
Right.
Like, how do you fix or address that?
I mean, you do it exactly how she did it, which was, I'm not impressed. Every accusation about me has been baseless. This is misogyny. Like, calling it exactly what it is. Like, the fact that there was no vague terms in either of her statements, that did so much for women in motorsport. The fact that she knew for a fact that this was part of an intimidation tactic, and called it. Basically, it was like, I'm not intimidated by you. Like, you know, you basically tried to come for me and it just didn't work. And that calling that what it is, like, just means a lot, because you have a lot of times with like mess gets public, people are just taking shots very like, you know, vaguely, you know, sly, like thinly veiled. And she just ripped the veil off and was like, this is bullshit, essentially. And that's how this stops. That's how it ends. Because when people are now get held accountable for this, whether it's legally or otherwise, you know, their career, like this type of shit will stop. But up until now, nobody's been sued for libel for, you know, coming at Susie Wolff. And she seems like the kind of girl is just like, yeah, if you want to play games, you can win stupid fucking prizes playing with me. And like, that's the kind of, that's the vibe. I love it. Like this meant so much to me. I read this statement straight up and I was just like, yeah, we need more of this. Like, cut the bullshit, call it what it is. And then we can move on. Like, because until accountability happens, there is no fixing it. You know?
I totally agree. And I think with the media, sometimes we see someone be racist, but the article doesn't call it racism.
Right. Racially charged.
Right? So a lot of value in her calling this, like you said, exactly what it was. She called herself collateral damage.
Yep.
She said, like, this clearly was, like, not clear, I'm sorry. She said that this was an attack on someone else, and I was just...
I caught a stray.
Caught a stray in this bitch,
yeah.
But I don't catch strays, so I'm going to find out, like, who shot that gun.
That was part I was like, ooh, got chills a little bit, because I'm like, not only did she say this is not over, I'm coming for you. I'm going to figure out where this originated. Yeah.
It feels like she's in the driver's seat now. Oh, shit. Pun not intended. But it feels like she's in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, y'all thought I was just going to let this go.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not going to do that.
And see, that's the other thing about women like Susie that I appreciate as well. Because people will look at her and be like, oh, you know, she's a woman in motorsport. You know, like, but like when you underestimate people like that, you know, you make unforced errors like this. You so like completely did not see this response coming because you underestimated her from the beginning, because you thought, oh, she's just the wife of Toto Wolff. What could she do in the situation? She made all her statements independent of Toto. There was no joint statement, you know, as a married couple. This was all her. Toto's statements never was like, you know, defending his wife, because he let her. She's like, I got this. I'm about to stand on business. Lewis, give me them Timbs. I'm standing on business on my own. You know, like, pass me the Timbs, bitch. I'm standing on my own business. So, like, that's what I appreciate about this situation is, like, Susie's not the damsel in distress here. She knows exactly what this is.
That's a great way to say it.
She knows exactly what this is. She knows exactly how to handle it, and she's handled it. And that's what you get. You'll never do that shit again. You'll never do that shit again. Not to Susie. Not to Susie Wolff. Yeah.
I really do hope, because all of this, I don't like the optics right now, because it's like, at this moment, we dragged Susie and we said, never mind. And that is, logistically speaking, that doesn't make much sense.
That's insane.
It is insane. It is insane. And it shows you, like, I disrespected you the first time when I came at you with no evidence, sources, or anything.
Right.
And you would think that I learned to respect you in this process, but I didn't, because where is the respect in the well, oops, no further action? Where's the respect in that?
There's no respect in that.
There's
shameless.
No respect. Like, there is no fucking, and that's what bothers me. This woman, let's talk about misogyny. My boys. Boys.
Fellas, talking to you.
I hear you. Misogyny is a scary word.
It's a big word for Elmo.
It's a big word, buddy. Like, oh my goodness. The whole ass misogyny. It has how many letters? This was misogynistic. If Susie Wolff were a man, we don't get no pillow talk shit. We don't get any questioning of her credentials. We don't get this dragged out in public.
She doesn't get compared to a Spice Girl. Like,
you gotta understand that, like, if you don't see the misogyny in this, respectfully, you need to learn more about what misogyny is.
Yeah.
You need to learn that, like, misogyny isn't saying women are less than us. I mean, that is misogynistic, but it doesn't happen that way.
Right.
It happens in the vocabulary, in the wording, in the
treatment,
in the in between the lines. It doesn't happen in the lines. It happens in between the lines.
It's the same thing with racism. People only understand racism when it's like N-word or like the overt, but it's the daily microaggression.
It's the microaggression.
Yeah.
I need to shut. Like,
it's you.
And really, I'm coming from I promise you, I'm coming from a good place. All I'm saying is, if you see this incident and everything that Tasha and I have talked about today, and you don't see the misogyny, there are books, the internet. I'm not coming from a critical place. The misogyny is so evident in this, in every statement, that do a little better in educating yourself on what it is. And I am not criticizing you. I am simply trying to help you.
Yeah.
You have, I don't have a right. What am I? I'm just another guy in this shit.
Just another dude with an opinion.
Just another dude.
Just another dude with the podcast, Mike.
Just dude with the podcast, Mike. Yeah. Coming at you from 96.7, Misogyny Station.
Misogyny.
We only play music by dudes here.
And chicks that we think are hot. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But really, it is a very it's a very sad thing to go through. I being so far removed from all this, still can't fathom like how difficult it is to see all of this.
Yeah.
But I love that Susie Wolff basically became more of an icon than ever. Let's talk a little bit about we haven't mentioned, Lewis Hamilton did. Lewis Hamilton, this is Susie's fight, and Susie fought it wonderfully, and she did not need any backup, but she got backup. And I think Lewis Hamilton did a lot of things that were super important. Not even if you don't agree in the most basic way. Remember that Lewis Hamilton has a huge platform in his social media, and at the very least, you should understand that him sharing and commenting makes this a bigger. Gets this to a bigger audience. So do you want to talk a little bit about the different things that Lewis did during this situation?
Yeah, I mean, so definitely, so one thing we can definitely talk about to build into this story even more is that all of this has happened like the week of the FIA prize-giving gala, which happened yesterday in Baku, right? So last time, Lewis skipped the prize-giving ceremony for, reasons, and was fined because he's supposed to show up because he's supposed to receive this award.
Top 3 is supposed to show up or whatever.
He's mandatory. You have to show up. So Ben was like, you know what? That's another rule I can enforce. So he made him pay a fine for not coming. So this year, Lewis decided, I'm coming. He got P3 in the driver championship. He well deserved. So he went and collected his award. During the press for the FIA
collected
gala.
The award, but
yes, that's a whole other. We'll get into that later. So anyway, Lewis
in the press
at the damn event with the step and repeat with the FIA logo behind him said, hold on, I have the totally wrong quote pulled up.
By the way, while you look for that Burberry tracksuit, he was rocking it.
Mind you, though, when we got these quotes, we didn't know what he was wearing. Like, because there was no video of the.
You're right.
So we just saw the quotes and we're like, wow, he's really in here, like lighting it up. But then when you see the tracksuit, it's like, yo, this man.
This guy's so serious.
No fucks. So what he said about Susie. He said, ahead of the FIA gala, Lewis Hamilton calls it, quote, disappointing. The FIA sought to question the integrity of one of the most incredible female leaders we've ever had in our sport without questioning, without any evidence. Then just saying sorry at the end. That's unacceptable. There is a constant...
They didn't even say sorry.
At the bare minimum. He continues, there is a constant fight to really improve diversity and inclusion within the industry. It seems there are certain individuals in leadership within the FIA that every time we try to make a step forward, they try to pull us back, and that has to change. So
it gives off a bad apples situation.
Yeah.
Hey, there are some bad apples in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think to your point, like Lewis wasn't coming into this as somebody trying to like, save the day or whatever by putting in his input. But that second part where he basically was like, there are certain people who are stifling progress says quite a lot. And again, we're talking about, this is the same week an article came out that a lot of people don't want Ben Sulayem to be in this position at the FIA because of him specifically. So, Lewis is coming at it from a standpoint of like diversity and inclusion. I don't know what's happening between Stefano and everybody else, but whatever business stuff that's going on there. But it just seems like a lot of people have like honed in on Ben as somebody who is not the right person for this job. And I like that he added that layer on top of everything that Susie said.
Yeah.
Is that somebody is stifling progress in the sport and we're trying to move forward. So by, again, calling it out exactly as it is, this is how we get progress, because you're saying there's lots of great people who work here and seemingly only a few people who don't want us to get better. So they're laying it on at his feet.
I wonder who those bad apples are.
I don't know. It's really, really interesting. The other thing that I found. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm very curious. Like, I don't know, but like, how much good? I want to go into like how many good things that Ben do in a like what value is he bringing? There must be something.
I don't think
or like he has some sort of blackmail on other people.
Well, I think that he's a vessel for other. I mean, like that's why I said I don't think Ben works independently. I don't think he's some rogue sort of like figure. I think he works with people who and benefits certain people, teams, whatever you want to call it. Like he's useful to them, but you're only useful when you like are playing within the parameters, right? Like when you're making the block hot, basically no one's going to want to fuck with you because now you're making everybody fucking like look stupid for dealing with you. Because you can't separate your personal stuff, from business. And like that's the issue is like when you start making rookie mistakes, like who's going to publicly back that? You're only useful when you can do shit in the background. You're making this about you. You want to be in all the driver pictures. You want to be schmoozing with all the celebrities. Like you want to be the most famous person associated with this sport.
He wants his own drive to survive.
Yeah,
he's mad he doesn't have a drive to survive.
Yeah, he wants to be the main character so bad. And like you're about to be, and I don't think it's for the reason that you had hoped for. But like, I just think that his ego and his inability to like see something other than like what benefit it is for himself is going to get him so caught up. Like
going to be the main character in a fucking lawsuit.
Hello. I mean, and this is my thing too, is like, how guilty do you look when you basically ahead of the gala are like, Mr. Sulayem fell ill and fell and hit his head and got a concussion, but he's recovered. Like, this is some general hospital ass like storyline. Like you telling me that this man hit his head, is concussed, and was like, oh, I need to investigate this in a haze. Like, and then it's like, and now this is coming after we've already seen him in Baku, showing people around, holding discussions and talks and tweeting about it. So everybody has the receipts that he's alive and well. And that's that to me, I'm like, that's guilt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's cowardice. If you stood on business and you did what you're supposed to do, why are you telling lies? Why are you acting like you're not going to show up? Like, why are you acting like you were sick and you hit your head? Like, what?
I feel like he has like two PR people. I feel like he's got two PR people and he didn't get those two PR people together because he told one PR person, nah, say I got a concussion. Right. But then he told the other PR person, of course I'm going to show up. And then we suddenly got two stories.
Right.
And it's like.
And then it was a Christmas miracle because he showed up and gave out awards.
I'm saying miraculous recovery. Miraculous recovery.
Like, wow. Like, this
crazy.
Is so silly. This is the silliest shit I've ever witnessed, encountered. Like, whatever happens after this, it's not going to be funny for Ben or whoever else is involved, but it will be funny for me because I'm just like, you deserve this. You're an idiot. you played stupid
The
games. You're
sport
about
is
to win
better
stupid
off without
prizes.
him.
Yeah.
And that's just it. The sport
Absolutely.
is better off without him.
Absolutely. You're done. You're toast.
Are we done?
I mean, are we done? Oh, can we talk about Lewis Hamilton leaving his prize?
Oh, right. We didn't say we didn't know because I wanted to timeline it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Lewis shows up in a tracksuit.
Yeah.
Says the stuff he said.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
Oh, he also
The award.
Oh, sorry. Like in the other shit with Susie, besides Susie, he also said, "I wonder if they're really thinking about sustainability, flying us all to Baku when they're when they're based in Paris." I was like, "Yo!" He just came and just started like kicking shit over at the gala.
That was the first thing. He drops. Do you think they're going to Africa next year so that Lewis doesn't say that?
Right? Maybe. Like you're gonna complain you wanted to come to Africa. We're doing it.
So then Lewis gets his award for third place.
Yeah.
But motherfucker had an outfit change.
The outfit change was sick. Yeah.
He's so cool.
He was like, "Oh, y'all thought I was going to go on stage in a tracksuit? Wow, you don't know me at all." The fact that we got a Lewis Hamilton Fashion Week in a couple hour span at the FIA Gala.
Truly.
Could never. You want to talk about main character energy? This man had a costume change at your event. Like, that is incredible. And punked you at your own event. Like,
punked? Yes.
Like, this is the energy I need more often in the sport.
Hey, but Lewis did take the award.
He did. He wished everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, good to see ya. How are you?
said great things about Red Bull and Max and Checo. Like, my guy is
very cordial.
The best. What is not sort like the opposite of a sort? Like, he's a great loser.
Yes.
Like he's a much better loser than I will ever be. Because like he stood up there and he was super gracious, which I'm not surprised. That's just him,
right?
But then. Tell us what you found out today. What's the last little morsel?
So via Twitter, I love Twitter. You guys keep me so young and aware. I don't know what article this is from. Oh, from Motorsport Magazine. Okay. So it says a joint press conference with Hamilton, Verstappen, Horner, and Perez was actually announced. The setting was also designed for this. However, Hamilton attended the appointment alone. Verstappen and Horner were dealt with separately. Perez was missing due to a delay. After the award ceremony, Hamilton apparently once again expressed his displeasure with the FIA with a simple gesture. The Mercedes driver left his trophy for third place in the F1 World Championship standing. And it's just a picture of it on a table, like, alone.
I love it.
It just looks like a centerpiece of a table.
It looks like a shitty centerpiece of a table. I love it.
I do too.
This guy, like, Lewis expresses himself very well and carries himself very, like, because this I consider this expressing himself, but like with an action, not with words.
Yeah.
So I would call this carrying himself, and that is a very cool thing to do.
Absolutely. That's some baller ass shit, you know? Like, I don't want this shit. I don't think that it wasn't important to him, and I can't put any I can't project any of what I think onto his actions. Maybe he just left it. I don't fucking know. But it is but even still, it's just like, damn, it wasn't that important. You know, you had to make sure you had it with you. So yeah, he wants to be number one. Like nobody wants to be number three. And I mean, he fought hard
Checo
for it.
Might.
Yeah, Checo might. He'll be lucky next season, but whatever. Anyway, it will just be it's just really interesting to me to see how all this has played out. I feel like Lewis has really taken the high road a lot in the last couple years about what's going on. Mm-hmm. And slowly I feel like that graciousness is sort of getting revoked a little bit. Like he's not fully kind of saying stuff with his chest, but there's signs. There have been signs. And I do think it's really interesting. The more that they kind of like, mess with him and like blatantly, treat him certain way differently to other people, I think he's going to become more and more vocal, which I fully wholeheartedly support because he should be. They shouldn't be just none of this shit should be like going unchecked. So I think that's the least he can do at this point now is just make sure that everybody knows that it's just a bunch of clowns. And I'm in the circus, but listen, I'm not part of this act, I'm not running.
I hate how we normalize that Lewis is the only one who speaks up.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I really do hate
Really
because this isn't. I don't know. That's all I have to say. Really, I really hate how we normalize that.
Yeah, it's
like
messed up.
other drivers should get these questions.
Yeah,
and other drivers should answer no comment, and that's their right. But
please ask.
But exactly, I don't understand how we normalized this so much that we laugh about it, but Lewis is literally the only person being asked about anything relevant or anything like meaningful outside of races.
Right.
And I'm not saying that every driver, I truly do think if a driver says, I don't want to talk about that because I want to talk about racing, alrighty, bro. Okay. But like, you need to ask these questions to these drivers.
Yeah.
I think it's ridiculous. Tasha, anything else before we wrap this up?
I think we beat this horse. Like it's dead.
I'm excited to see what comes out of this. I'm going to be really, really disappointed if nothing comes out of this.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't think you make a threat.
I don't think Susie's going to say that shit and not mean that shit.
Yeah.
I really don't. Okay. Well, for all of you still here, let us know what you think. Yeah, thank you so much. Let us know what your thoughts are on all of this.
Yeah.
We try to make we try to make it light and everything, but I think we did cover, the important topics, and like these conversations we need to keep having.
It's serious.
So in the YouTube comments and social media, give us your opinion. Tell us what you think. My guys, let's start listening a little bit more than we talk on this one. Let's just, let's just use our ears a little bit more. This is not our fight. We can only support. So yeah, just let us know. This is fun as always. Tasha and I will always, always, always cover these topics, whether it gets the clicks or not. But yeah, I've been Mario. You can find me at Mario_APM on Instagram and Twitter. Follow me. I need the clout. Tasha, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Tasha on Twitter, and also on Instagram at the Glossier and at Tasha.
Unless you muted your ass because you're annoying.
Unless you're on that bullshit, then you can kick rocks.
Because if you're on that bullshit, she been mute you, so don't try.
My whole shit is mute. This account is muted.
I love that.
Guys, get a life. Why are you still here? You know what I'm saying? Like.
So it's very deep for
I'm big in the Netherlands, apparently. Like, I can't wait to go. I can't wait to go and meet all my fans. Like, wow. What's up, guys?
And we'll go. The Netherlands are beautiful. If y'all want us to go there just to say some hateful shit, that's fine. But
I'm not going to hate. I think it's beautiful. I think the tulip fields, all that shit.
I went to
my little
Amsterdam.
meet and greet with my friends. Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome. That's that. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, on all the socials, Patreon. Subscribe. We're going to be back with more episodes. We've got some pretty cool ideas. Thank you to Chris in the back for pressing the buttons and doing the thing and telling us how much we're dragging. Dragging like time-wise. But yeah, thank you very much to everybody. Tasha, take us away.
Thank you guys so much for listening, as always. And remember, no matter what happens in life, keep it on the black stuff. Bye.
Bye.
Look, mate, if you've got this far, clearly you like what we do. So here's a link to subscribe to the Quickstop F1 family. Give that a click. And here's another link to some more cool on our channel. Sorry, cool stuff. And remember, no matter what happens, keep it on the black stuff. Click the stuff. Click the links. Click the links. Click the links. There. They're there.